Okay, so this is QGIS environment, as you all know. Now, before we start creating points, line and polygon, now from the beginning of our training, when I was introducing GIS, I talk about organization of data. Okay, so before you start doing any work, any GIS work, you actually need to create a folder where you can put all those your GIS functions, all those your GIS data. Okay. So now you need to open, let me see, I need to share my desktop. New share.
We're seeing it already.
Okay, I've seen it already. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So now before you create any GIS data, you need to create a folder so that you putting them inside. Now, one of the folder you need to create, possibly you can call it GIS data or GIS folder. Then inside that GIS folder, you need to create another folder called SHP. SHP means shapefile, so that all the data that we are going to create is going to be saved inside the SHP. So all the vector data that you are going to create, I told you that SHP is shapefile, you are putting them inside SHP. Then you create another folder called map. Map now is when you finish all your analysis, you finish arranging all your data, and then you produce your map, and then you export your map. Then your exported map now will be saved inside that map, the folder called map. Then you can now create another folder called projects. Okay, you can create another folder called project, so that that particular folder called project, and that is when you are going to save your project itself. That is this particular project. Now, for example, if I save this workspace now, it's called as a project. You see, you can use from the top title here, you see untitled project. So if I save it now, it will have a name as a project name. Okay, so that is one thing that you need to do before you start creating GIS data. Okay, now, before we continue, I want us to load one of our points. I just picked somebody's point, okay, from...
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please, can you go over through the creation of folder, the files that you have?
Okay.
Load them.
Okay, now, first of all, I want everybody to open a folder in the system. You are using your system. Those that have a system can do that now. Okay, you can open a folder in your system. You know how to create a new folder?
Yes, I know.
Let me see. I want to share a particular environment. So now, for example, this is my desktop. I see my desktop. I see this environment where I am now.
Yes. I'm seeing
Yes.
it.
Okay, now this is my desktop. Okay, so I can just right click anywhere, possibly in your desktop, anywhere you are, and then I'll go to new, and then I'll create new folder. Okay, so now give me room for me to type the name of the folder. I can just call this as GIS folder, or depend, possibly if you are doing a particular job, maybe for a particular client, you can just call it Mr. So person's folder. So just the name of the folder, just write the name. Then I'll now open this folder. Then inside this folder, I'll right click again and open a new folder again. And then I can call it SHP. SHP means shapefile. That is to say, any line, point, polygon shapefile or vector data that you create, we input it inside this place. That's, you are going to save it inside shapefile. Then you right click again and then create another folder, and then you call it map. Okay, either I call it map or you can call it exported map. Then inside this exported map, now that is where you are going to put all your map that you are going to export at the end of your and at the end of your analysis, after you analyze all your data and then produce a final map, then inside this folder again, inside the GIS folder, I can create a new folder called projects. Now the project now is what I'm going to save my project name. For example, now when I open the QGIS software, the QGIS is showing untitled project, right? So I can now save it in name. I can give it a name so that it will save. For example, if you save your Microsoft Word or you save your AutoCAD, let's say you have your AutoCAD environment. When you finish or before you start, you have to save it. Okay, so you save it with a particular name. So now that project itself, now you are saving it inside the project here. Then those files, those data that you are going to create, shapefile, other point, line, or polygon, you are going to save them inside SHP. And then your exported map is going to be on that map. I believe everybody understands this now. So I'll go back to my QGIS again. So I'll share QGIS. All right, so as I said, this is your untitled project, so you can save it. Okay, now this is our QGIS. No, before we start now, let's just save our project. So how will you save our project? Go to project here, and then you see save. Okay, now when you click on save, it will give you an environment where you can save. For example, now it's telling me I should.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I'm hearing
So
you.
this project, you can also have maps, cadastral work, all are called project. So I'm afraid one may confuse the map folder, map file with the project on. So can you differentiate why is it called project? Why not a specific name that
No, the reason why I call it project, sir, is the fact that are you seeing my QGIS environment now? I see the QGIS.
Yes. I'm seeing it.
Now look at the top, your top left corner here, where they write untitled project. I see my cursor.
Yes.
There is written untitled project, right? So now that is to say that when you saved a QGIS, it's referred to as a project. Okay. Now this whole explanation is just for you to arrange your data. Now it's left for you to use any name. You must not use a project. Any name that you use, as far as you know that there's a data organization, as far as you know that you are managing your data, you are arranging your data very well, is perfectly okay. You must not use the project. But I'm using the project here because QGIS is referring to the whole of this project when you are saving your project as a project. Okay. For example, in my workplace now, like in QGIS, this particular folder that I'm referring to as a project is called MSD. MSD. Okay. Instead of creating a project, they use MSD. Now, what the meaning of MSD is that when you save ArcGIS, ArcGIS is another QGIS software that is developed by Esri. From the beginning of this training, I talk about ArcGIS, right? Now, if you save ArcGIS project, if you save any project in ArcGIS, the format of it is MSD. So now, based on that, they now use that MSD as a folder name for all the projects. Okay, so now it's all those things now depend on yourself. The main thing is for you to organize your data. So you can use any name, anything that you want to use. I believe you understand.
Sir. Thank you.
Yes.
I understand.
Okay, all right. So now, as I said, let's save this our project. So I'll click here and then I'll go to save. Okay, my screen now, you are not seeing my screen again, but I'll go to that's my folder that I create. Let me see if I'll just share that place again. Okay, you are seeing my screen now. So this is my folder.
Yes, we are seeing.
Yes, this is my folder. So what I'll do now is that I'll go to my desktop. I'll open my desktop. Okay, then I'll look for that GIS folder that I create. You see, I have GIS folder. Okay, you see GIS folder here. I have the GIS folder. I open it. Then I have map. I have project, and then I have shapefile. Okay, but this particular one now, I'll save it as inside the project. So I open the project. Then I now type the name of the project. I can call it project 1. No, let me use a word. Let me say GIS for construction. Okay, as the name of the project, this particular project that we're going to work on, GIS for construction, and the file format of it is QGZ files. Okay, that is the file format of it. But you are not concerned about the file format. Just type the name of the project and then click save. Okay, so we have saved it now. I'll go back and share my QGIS environment again. All right, you are seeing the QGIS now, right? Okay. Now,
Yes, sir, we are seeing it.
okay. Now I have saved it. Now I will go back to my Excel. Now, because I want us to bring that coordinate that we pick to our system, to our QGIS environment now. So as I said, I use somebody's own. I just use one person's Excel so that we'll use it to practice. Okay. So I don't know how accurate is that data, but when we load it, we know that, okay, if it's accurate or not. So I'll click on, I'll share my Excel so that you see the Excel. Okay. So we have a Excel sheet here. So like the person, based on what he picked, he has points A, B, C, D, and then we have longitude and latitude. Okay. All right. So now what I'll do now is that I can just rename this one as, I can just change it as X, and then I'll just change it as Y. Okay. Then I will now save this thing as, okay, I'll save it as CSV. That is the file format now, it's going to be CSV. So I'll click on save as. And then, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we are seeing it.
Okay, now click on save as, then, and now I have to browse to that the same file that I have my project now. Then, that's to say I'll click here.
More options.
Sir?
I saw you clicking on more options.
More options, yes. Just for me to access my folder on desktop.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah, just for me to access my folder on desktop. So are you still seeing my screen?
Yes, we are seeing it, sir.
Okay. So I'll click on my desktop and then I'll go to the GIS folder. And then I'll put it inside the shapefile because it's going to be a vector data. So I can just call it practice 1. I just name it as practice 1. Are you seeing my desktop? Are you seeing my screen?
We are seeing it, sir.
Okay,
we are seeing it.
I can call it as desktop 1. Then under the save as type, this save as type now, you click on this arrow here. There's a small arrow here. You click on it and then select CSV, comma delimited. Are you seeing it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'll click on CSV. All right, then I'll now click save. So I have saved this file now as practice.csv. So I can minimize this and then go back to my QGIS. So let me share QGIS again.
So why did you use CSV?
Sir?
Why did you use CSV? Command
Delimited. Yeah, that is the file format that QGIS understand from Excel. So if you are bringing a data from Excel, possibly, as I said, if you go and pick your coordinate with your mobile phone or GPS, if you type it in Excel, for you to bring it to Excel, QGIS, so that the QGIS will recognize it as a coordinate, you have to save it as CSV. So it's a file format that QGIS understands.
Thank you, sir.
You understand?
Hello?
Wait,
Yes,
sorry, moderator. Hello?
Okay.
Please, you said when we are saving it in the folder,
CSV, yes.
we save it as a shape file, right?
No, you save it as CSV, but we are saving it inside the shapefile folder.
Okay, yes, that's what I want to know.
Yes, we are saving it
Yeah.
inside the shapefile folder, but this Excel, now you know your Excel, your normal
I
Excel
understand.
that
I've gone through that already. Yes.
Good. So is
Yes.
any confusion again?
no, sir.
Everybody's following, right? Because this is a full practical section now, you understand? So please, if there's any confusion, you can unmute yourself and just ask, okay? It's better we get one thing right than cover the whole thing and then you are confused. Although from the video also, if there's any confusion, when you watch the video, you can actually see it clearly. But in case of any confusion, you can also ask so that I can explain. So now you all understand how we can be able to save our Excel sheet, how we can be able to convert our Excel to CSV now. Let's say if you have your coordinate data, we save it as CSV. When you type it in Excel, save it as CSV. Okay, now I'm in QGIS now. Then I want to bring in that Excel that I save as CSV. How did I do that? How do I do that? I will go to...
Hello, sir.
Yes.
The remaining 4 format that QGIS accepts apart from the CSV, what are the remaining 4 format that you said is 5? QGIS accepts 5 formats.
There are many 5 formats that QGIS accepts. There's shapefile, there's CSV, there is DWG. DWG is AutoCAD files. DSF is AutoCAD files.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
there are many, there are thousands of, not thousands, but there are many formats that CSV on the QGIS or GIS software understand. There are many. Yes.
Sir, the question here is that I mean, if you are to save something in CSV while bringing it, extracting it to QGIS,
yes,
are you only to save it on CSV? Is it only the CSV you
as
save
far as
it
it's from
in
Excel,
Excel?
as far as it's from Excel, it's only CSV.
Oh, that's the question, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yes.
So now,
what about others?
Others like
Others apart from Excel, just ordinary numbers like that.
ordinary numbers.
Okay, CSV.
This aspect, sir. This aspect is this bar. This aspect is when you pick your coordinates. Okay, when you pick your coordinate and then you type your coordinate in Excel, for you to bring that coordinate to QGIS environment or GIS environment, you need to save it as CSV. That is that.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, so I'll go to my layer. Okay, I'll go to layer, and then I'll go to add layer, and then I'll come to add delimited text layer. Are you following? Add delimited text layer. I'll click on it. Okay, and then bring out this environment. Now, if you look at this environment now, you see that we are in add delimited text layer. Then you see there's a button here. There's a 3-dot button here by my right. I'll click on it. You see the name is browse, so that I'll browse to the place that I saved my CSV. I'll click on it. Then I'll go to my desktop where I save. Then I'll locate it. GIS folder. GIS folder. SHP, and then I have my CSV, practice.csv. I'll click on it, and then I'll click open. See that it has bring it to this environment. Now make sure that your own is tick, like let it tick CSV here. You are seeing this dot here, right? In case your own is not
yes,
tick,
sir, we are seeing.
If you say your own is not tick, make sure it's tick. Possibly the reason why my own is tick is because I've used it before. And then if your own is not tick, just make sure you tick it, okay? Then you see that the coordinates that we import to this environment, you are seeing them here, A, B, C, D. And then you are seeing the X, Y, Z. And then your field now, your X field is showing X, and then your Y field is showing Y. Now, for example, if I leave it for that longitude and latitude that it was earlier written. It will be that,
Designated.
okay, your X will be latitude, and then your Y will be longitude, right? So you have to make sure you check that. But I just change it to this X and Y so that nobody will get confused on that. Okay, so you can be using your X and Y so that you not get confused. But as far as you understand the longitude and latitude and then how you can interchange it, you can use it. Okay. Then from there now, I'll click add. Okay, I click add. Then it's asking me the coordinate reference system that we are going to use. But based on the fact that we are using we are combining different people now, we can just use WGS, right? We can just
I think there's a problem with arrangement of my own data. The add option is not highlighted, which means I can't add the data I have from Excel.
Do you save it as CSV?
Yes, I did. But the X and Y coordinates used in yours, I think, is different from what I have in mind. That may be the problem.
Okay, please, what we are going to do is this back. Please let's just follow this training. You understand? Let's just do it this way. Let's just follow this training. After the end of the training, we're going to follow the video. So if you have any question at that point, you now ask. You understand? So that will not because of our time.
Okay.
Yes. So I'll click on I'll click on the WGS and then I'll click OK from here. Okay. So now if I close after that, now I can just click close. So now I have a point here. Okay. I have this practice point here. Now I said the other day that when you have a point and then you are not seeing that point as well as the point is well loaded, just click on the point, right click, and then zoom to layer. So I zoom to layer now, I see the point that the person picked. Okay, so you see the position of the point that the person picked, S, Y, and Z. Now, possibly the values, possibly when he's picking it, or I don't know if this is how the person pick it, you understand? But this is the point. It's showing the 4 points here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we are going to use this to actually do our practice. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is that this particular point, I will just shift the point so that it will look like possibly a plot of land or a boundary. Because possibly this person pick a plot of land and then there's a mix of somewhere and then it did not fall at the right location or it did not fall well. But you can actually adjust it on your system. So it doesn't mean the data that the surveyors or whosoever go to the fields that pick it, in case there's a mix up or there's a change in the data, you can just do your adjustment based on the fact that you are having the system in the office and then you have the satellite image on it. I believe you understand. Okay, so now for me to confirm this particular point, I'll go to my browse, and then you remember the way we load the Google Earth the Google map the other time on QGIS. I just click drag and drop so that it will load it, and then I click OK so that it will load the satellite image, just for us to be able to adjust the point. Now you have seen how we can be able to load our our CSV file to QGIS. Okay. Now before we talk of digitizing those points, we have to learn how to create a point, line, and polygon. Okay, which is one of the function or one of the topics of our today's class. Okay, so now how do we create points? Because you see the first task I do here in bringing the CSV to QGIS, I actually go to add layer instead of creating. Reason because I already have that data somewhere, so I'm bringing it in. So when you have a data somewhere, if you are bringing it in, you use add layer. But when you don't have a data, if you want to create your own data, then at that point you are going to use create layers. Okay. Now I'll go to layer here, and then I'll click on create, and then I'll click on new shapefile, because it's shapefile that we want to create. So I'll click on new shapefile. And then, now before we click on the new shapefile, let's just go to our project and check our CROS first, so that when we know the CROS that we are working on, then we know which one that we are going to use. So first of all, I'll go to my project and then go to property. Okay, now I'll put it on WGS. Okay, but even without WGS, I'll still put it on no CROS. Now, what do you mean by no CROS? This is what I call on the fly projection the other day. If it is some version of QGIS, it's writing on the fly projection. Okay, so you can put it here and then still click here. Now, the reason why clicking there is important is that I look at some of your assignments. Some people save their own in WGS, while some people save their own in Mina. Now, if you put it on no projection or on the fly projection, you discover that whether you are using Mina or you are using WGS, it will still fall at the right position. Okay, based on this practice. I believe you understand. So I'll click OK from here. Okay, and then I'll click OK. Now, I'll go to my layer. I'll create layer and then new shapefile. Okay, now under the new shapefile, you see they call it file name. Now, under the file name here, there's a 3-dot button here, which I will now browse to the location where I will save my layer. You mind you, the first one we saved that time was a project. I saved the project. But this time around now, we want to save the layer that we want to create. So this layer that we want to create is either is a line, point, or polygon. But we don't know yet. As we continue, we are going to know which particular one that we are creating.